people think that they're gonna build a lot of
Yeah,
flexibility.
true.
Is participating in yoga nowadays a form of cultural appropriation?
Some religions, they don't like yoga.
Yes.
It is a different religion. Hello and good day everyone. Welcome to the Soul Pod. So this is your host. I am Lorraine Beatrice, and today's topic will be something that's very close to my heart. I think this is a very misunderstood concept, and this topic yoga. We're going to be talking about yoga today, and yoga has healed me when I was in my spiritual journey. It has helped me recenter myself, refine my purpose, and even healed my physical injuries as well. Today's episode will take us to a journey from the ancient and spiritual roots of yoga to its Western adaptation in this globalized, fast-paced world. And to help us unpack this transformation, we're incredibly honored to be with us a person who's balanced a life that's similar to that, law and mindfulness. So joining us, I have Codigo here. Joining us is attorney Carla B. Ken. Yes? Am I pronouncing that right? That's correct. She's a licensed lawyer and an educator with extensive experience in legal research, statutory construction, and philosophy of law. But beyond her work in the legal field, attorney here is also a certified yoga teacher who completed her 200-hour yoga training in Rishikul.
Yogshala, yeah.
Rishikul Yogshala in Rishikesh, India, which is the birthplace of yoga itself. So she currently teaches yoga in different studios here in Davao City, and she has a unique background that spans research, education, and holistic wellness. So Attorney Carla here offers a powerful perspective on how yoga has been reinterpreted and integrated into a modern hustle culture, without losing, of course, the essence of what yoga truly means. So we're excited to have her with us today to talk about spirituality and the importance of staying grounded in a world that never slows down. So, Attorney Carla, guys, palakpakan sila. Although kanta lang audience natin. So, Teach, I'm very curious. You sent us your curriculum vitae, and we are so amazed and confused at the same time. Your undergraduate is about biology,
Yes.
and then you went to law, and then
law school.
after law school you did the yoga teacher training.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, guys, she's also a Wave 1
Yeah.
certified free diver. Grabe. So take us through that. How did you get to biology, and then to law school, and then to yoga teacher training? Take us through it.
So when I was young, high school, I'm still young. When I was younger, around
We're all young.
yeah,
We're not
we're
running
all
out of
young.
time.
Mhm. I really wanted to become a doctor. That's
Mm.
why when I passed TP and then there's Bionats offered, I immediately enrolled.
Mhm.
And then I talked through it with my mom, and throughout my college days, I was active. I was an active student. I was a student leader. So I joined councils. I was the chairperson of our college, science and mathematics. And with that, I've done trainings and I've done conventions, even congresses, national congresses with other UP systems. And there we filed resolutions, we talk about pressing issues, and it interests me.
So that's part of the getting into law.
The legal part, yeah. It's a matter of talking to people
Mm-hmm.
that drew me into it, talking to people, talking to clients. You get to do that when you're a doctor, but it also entails a lot of responsibility when you're a doctor. And even my friends now, they're saying that we really have a little time for
Yeah,
themselves.
that's
You know?
true.
And I think if I did pursue that career, I wouldn't be in this kind of situation where I'm able to live a holistic
True.
life.
I
Yeah.
follow Peach Carly on Instagram, and she has a lot on her plate, but all like things that are holistic. So sometimes meron siyang hearing, and then she would go to a Pilates class afterwards. It's random, but
Mhm.
it's a beautiful. You would actually see that she lives this beautiful and full life. No, it's a balance of this like. She really is the symbol of Western meets East, or the other way around. So, how did you get into practicing yoga and then eventually teaching?
So when I reviewed for the bar before I became a lawyer. It was pandemic time. Yeah. So 2020, I was practicing alone, just YouTube in front of me, just a laptop in front of me, and my practice grew there. Like it's self practice, and later on when the pandemic ended, so it really helped me during the review time because it's an intensive
I know.
period
Say
for
so.
me because the bar is such a big thing, and yoga helped me so that I can manage my emotions, I can manage my mental health while still studying and still having a lot of pressure, outside, even if it's the pandemic. I think the pressure is more, having a lot of weight. There's a lot of pressure.
It's more
because-
pressure than they say it is not.
Mhm.
Like when you're actually there, you would feel like the world
Yeah,
is
it's really
struggling.
nerve-wracking. It's my first time to take any
Mhm.
admission tests, like for a license. And in my case, it was the bar. And when I was there, like, you really don't know what will happen.
Yeah.
Like, it's just your body telling you how anxious it is,
Mhm.
but it's your mind that's gonna power you up.
Yes.
Yeah. And then after I practiced, I passed the bar, I went to studios. Yeah, I started in the cycle.
Oh, you were a
Yeah.
client there.
Yeah, I try to practice every day. Yeah, if I can. And that's the good thing about private practice of law. It's because I have my own time and I get to really do asana, do movement during my vacant time. And later on, I really wanted to deepen my practice. So teaching really was not uh,
Part of
a
the
drive. Yeah, a drive for me to be a teacher in yoga. And then when I was in training, why not? Like I
Yeah.
realized like
Were
why
you
not
with someone
teach?
else? Were
Yeah,
you
I was.
encouraged by
Mhm.
someone?
So
Do I
this is
happen
the
to know
funny
this
thing.
person?
They were also clients in Beats, like for a month. Like I met them there. So Pen and Ate John. And then when I transferred to Balay, or I juggled Beats and Balay, like they were also there. And we happened to talk about, I want to do teacher training. And then Ate John told me that she really wanted to do it for a long time now.
Yes.
So it's really a nice experience having to go to a place where you have friends, right? And you have people whom you share values with who also practice yoga. So we went together, and then 2 additional people also went with us. Yeah, so we 5 of us we became teachers, and we are all teaching now in our own ways. And when I went there, I was kind of shocked. Like,
It's a different culture, no?
yes, but later on, you will just adapt. It's easy to adapt there. I was just shocked that it was an intensive training. Like, we practice 5:30 in the morning, Ashtanga, and then after that, we do pranayam, and then we just have breakfast, and then we're gonna have lectures all throughout the morning. So, until
Would
lunch.
you say, like, how would you compare it to being in law school and being in yoga teacher training?
So, being in law school, it's kind of different because you're almost just sitting every day. You read,
So
you
it's
still
a
read.
sedentary practice.
Yes, all throughout the day, you still read so that you're prepared for your night class because it's a night class. But there, it's really intensive. You move you read, you study,
Yes.
and then you just have a break after lunch, and then we practice again. So this time it's hatha, and then after that we do meditation and we have dinner. But I usually skip dinner because when I was there, like, you will really listen to your body. You will know your body. Like, I don't need food now.
Like the intuition
Mhm.
kind of, it's heightened. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And because here in our fast-paced lives, like, food is everywhere,
Mhm.
right? It's very accessible. When you see food, like, you're enticed to
Yes.
get food, to eat food. But when you know your body and when you know what it wants, like, you don't immediately get food because you just
True.
want to.
Yes.
You get food because it nourishes you.
True.
Yeah.
And that we should always practice
Mhm.
proper nutrition. I've read also in the book, which we will talk about later on. This book, I read about yoga. And yoga is a holistic practice. It's more than just these asanas. I know there are terms that are new
Mhm.
to everyone,
You
like
can break them down.
yeah, there's hatha. She mentioned, teacher Carly mentioned hatha, and then pranayama. We'll discuss that later on. But the practice of yoga, it's holistic. It's also what you intake in your body.
Yes.
It's all written in the book. We'll discuss that later.
Mhm.
So, what would you say was the hardest part of the yoga teacher training? Because I've heard that the hardest part would be to meditate. They
Yes.
say the meditation part is the hardest because you're battling with your mind.
It is difficult, not just your mind, but really your body as well. Your physical, your overall body. Because you try to stay still, right? And your body goes numb because it's not used to being still.
Mm.
Because
yes.
Yeah, because we're in a moving world. And that's the thing. That's why we should know when to slow down and when to pause, so that when there's a need to pause, our bodies don't get shocked.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's the tendency. Well, meditation doesn't really have to be exclusively being still,
Mhm.
because sometimes I do running meditation. For me, running is also a
Yes.
form of meditation, a moving meditation, in a way that I can clear my mind, I can clear my thoughts, and I just concentrate on my breathing.
Yes.
Concentrate on my breathing and awareness with what's going on around me, with my environment. So we just don't confine our belief on what meditation is.
The misconception about meditation is that you have to stop your mind from thinking. That's the biggest misconception about meditation. When in fact, meditation is about awareness of your thoughts. So every thought that comes in your mind, you're aware that it is passing by. Every emotion that's passing by you're aware that that emotion is passing by. Meditation is about being aware and recentering yourself through your breath.
Yes.
So that is what pranayama is all about. We'll talk about that. We'll start with what is yoga really about. Because I believe we've discussed earlier that yoga is a very misunderstood concept. We've kind of think that it is just about physical fitness. It is a way to be thinner or to confine in these societal norms of the body. But let's talk about what yoga really is, because I know it's not just about the body, it's more than that.
Yes. Yoga, from the word yoga itself, it's union. So we'll just break it into two. First, the union with your individual consciousness. So this is the balance between your mind, your body, and your spirit. Yeah, the three of it. And then you link it to the universal consciousness, because you shouldn't just be aware of your body. You just shouldn't be just aware of yourself, but you are aware of your connection with your divine connection with the universe. So sometimes people have a misconception that yoga is a religion. Yes. That it was practiced or it was given birth because it was practiced by Hindus, Hinduism, Buddhists, by Buddhism. But it is a lifestyle. It
It's
is
a philosophy, yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we try to educate people, because some movements or some religions they don't like yoga. It is a
Yes.
different religion. Like,
We went to this park. I wouldn't say what park
Mhm.
it is, but it is a religion-based park, and they didn't allow us to do yoga there because
yeah,
it's not part of their practice. Now it's
Mhm.
against their practice.
the thing is, it all boils down to the intention. So,
Mhm.
what is your intention?
True.
Yeah.
Because I've heard that term before, that yoga is not a religion, it is a philosophy.
Mhm.
It's a philosophy of life, similar to Stoicism, whatever philosophy you believe in life. And I think everyone should try it out
Yeah.
because it will take you through a journey. It's honestly,
Mhm.
it was a journey for me. I at first thought also that it was going to be just physical. You know, I practiced yoga similar to how I practice in the gym. It was with ill intention that I wanted to be skinnier because that's everyone.
Yeah, most people think that they're gonna build a lot of
Yeah,
flexibility if they
true.
do yoga every
But
day.
it's more than that.
Mhm.
When you're in the mat, when you're practicing yoga, you'll realize that majority of the success that you would do in the asanas. By the way, asanas is
Movement,
the
postures.
movement, the postures that you're doing in yoga. That is asanas. When you're doing that, you'll realize that you have your biggest enemy when you're not achieving these posts are your fear. So basically, it's your mind. I find that when we're doing like balancing
Yes.
asanas,
Exactly.
it matters whether your mind is still or not. Because if
And
your
your breath too.
true, the pranayama guys is the breath.
Yeah.
Yes. So you would notice that if you're not centered to what you're thinking, you're not focused, and you're not centered with your breath, you wouldn't be able to achieve these asanas, and there would be a difference if you somehow
Yeah, because there are a lot
Yes.
of different pranayama practices. There are pranayama practices that we do before asana and those we do after asana. So it really depends. Like, for example, Nari Shodan, it provides balance for the right and the left hemispheres of our brain. We're going to talk about it later in anatomy.
it's the Nadi Shodhana,
Yeah,
right?
Nadi
Yes.
Shodan. Yeah, it's one of the most popular Yeah. pranayam. So these pranayams, we do them to balance our energy, or we regulate our energy. There are pranayams to heighten up your energy, pranayams to lower down your energy, to prepare you for sleep. So this really is also another concept or another practice that we do. Yeah. So our proper breathing in asana, when we do it, it's really mindful and being aware when we breathe, like in our inhales and in our exhales. We heighten them, we lengthen them, so that we can also lengthen our movements. So that's how we work our expansion and contraction when we
Pranayama is one of the components of yoga, right? There's pranayama, there's asana. What else are the components?
there's
of yoga?
meditation. There's actually different types of how they are grouped. There's the 8 limbs of yoga, there's yamas, niyamas. So when we talk about yamas, we have these ethical principles.
Yamas is
These are the ethical principles that
oh,
we practice for our social contribution. So it's being truthful, it's practicing the principle of non-violence. So when we talk about it, practicing kindness, it encompasses everything. So when you're kind, everything just follows and it just exudes. This energy just exudes.
Yes.
And after this, we practice or we have niyamas. This is being aware with ourselves, like practicing discipline, practicing contentment. I know this is very, very hard,
Yes.
especially in this kind of society.
We're kind of like
Mhm.
desiring for more and
Yeah.
more every time we get what we want.
That's where yoga comes in, right?
Yes.
So that we find balance. And there's a lot. There's a lot to talk about when we talk about the 8 limbs. And then there's asana. When we talk about asana, that's the postures, that's the movement, being syncing with our breath and movement. And then we have pranayam. pranayama or pranayam. So depends on how they pronounce it, where we regulate our energy and through breathing, because energy is actually already within us. So it's not food, it's not nutrients
Yes.
that bring energy within you, because there's already prana, there's already energy.
The breath,
inside.
yes.
Yeah.
I read it in this book. I keep referencing this book. This
Mm.
is the Seven Spiritual Laws of Yoga book by Deepak Chopra. And he mentioned there, sorry, he mentioned there that the breath is with us when we were born,
Mhm.
and it will be the last thing that we'll have when we die. So we have it all the time, but we take advantage of it. We don't train it.
Mhm.
And you would notice that when you're angry or when you're nervous, what changes? It's your breath,
Yes.
right? So we have to learn how to regulate the breathing, because this is what we have.
Mhm.
And if you know how to regulate your breathing, it would be like a gate.
It brings you a lot of power within
Yes,
yourself.
it's a power, because it's like a gate for you to also manage your emotions.
Mhm.
So breath, emotions, they're
Especially
all
the mind.
true.
Yes.
The mind is very hard to play, because we are in this fast-paced, globalized world. Again, I mentioned a while ago, we keep on desiring for more and more
Yes.
every time we want something.
And that's the goal of yoga, eradicating this.
Yes, contentment.
Santosha.
Says Buddha said that the desire is the source of all suffering,
That's true.
because you have to be contented with what you have and be open to what the universe is going to offer.
And it's very easy to talk about contentment, but when you do it, it takes a lot of
Yes.
practice and it's very hard.
I know. Like, would you say that you're fully content, or are you still practicing this part?
So when we talk about contentment, like it really boils down to your intention. Like, what is your intention? Because having dreams, you can still have dreams,
Yes.
even if you're contented.
Mhm.
So I can say that I'm contented with what I have now, but I still have vision in
Mhm.
mind. Because if we don't have vision, if we don't have more to come, like
Yes.
we're gonna be stagnant.
Yes.
And we're ever changing. Yeah, that's why.
You see, contentment is not. It shouldn't be interchanged with compliance.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that way. Contentment is being grateful for what you already have, because that's the thing. Most people are not grateful for what they already have,
Yes.
and they keep wanting to have something more, and that's like the root cause of greed.
Yeah, like going back to yoga, it's about being present, being
Yes.
in the moment. Because when you're too stressed out about the future, or you're too stressed out about the
Mhm.
past, you're stuck
Yes.
and you can't live your present fully.
Mhm. Because the past, guys, it doesn't exist anymore.
Yes.
The future is unknown, and the
Mhm.
present is a gift. I don't remember which movie that was. I think Kung Fu Panda.
That's
Yeah, so the present is a gift. That is why it is called the present. And the thing is, most of the people doesn't know how to be present. That's why we have to practice yoga. And yoga, the practice of yoga doesn't mean that you have to be on the mat, because as we
Yeah.
said a while ago, it is a philosophy. You can practice yoga while you're sitting and talking to someone, being listening and being mindful of what the other
Exactly.
person is talking to you, and being mindful of what you say to that person. That is a practice of yoga, because it is about mindfulness. And that's why I say that yoga is very misunderstood, because they think they have to be on the mat to practice it, when in fact you can practice it everywhere.
It's
Because
more
it is
than
a
your
philosophy.
mat, actually.
Yes, it's more than your mat.
And it's more difficult to practice it outside. Like,
true.
in your day-to-day activities, in your
Yes.
small choices, like you get to practice yoga by
Mhm.
choosing kindness, choosing
Yes.
what's good for your body.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not just really asana. That's really the misconception
Yes.
about yoga. It's reduced to just movement.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's more than that, which is a holistic
Mhm.
practice. So let's talk about the Western adaptation and transformation of yoga, because it has, again, we mentioned a while ago, it has shifted to physical
Mhm.
fitness, And then there has been hybrid forms of yoga. I want to learn what you think about that. There's hot yoga, then there's yoga with weights. And because of these forms of yoga, the misconception kind of it's fueled.
Yeah, it's growing.
Yes, it's fueled because people are thinking that it's really just about fitness. What are your thoughts on the Western adaptation of the yoga?
So really the thing is, also for us teachers, is awareness on what we teach and how we teach. Because it's okay to experiment. It's okay to have innovations if it's what the people need or what the people crave. But the thing is, we have to go back to the practice of yoga, being mindful and being aware. Because if when we reduce it to just some sort of fitness activity, it's gone. The essence is gone. Yeah, it's not yoga anymore when we don't sync our breaths with our movements. So it really boils down to the intention and the manner of how a guru or a teacher teaches yoga, because there's really a big influence. A teacher has really a big influence to his or her students.
I'm curious how you manage to be mindful as a lawyer. I'm sure that being a lawyer is a job that's fast-paced.
It's stressful.
It's stressful.
Yeah,
it's
and that's why I
rushed.
need yoga for it.
Yes. Take me through how you get through like these times of pressure, this time of like fast-paced, rush moments in law. How do you get by it? How do you stay mindful?
The thing is, when everything is too much and I know that I can't control it, that's where yoga comes and I just let go. Like, it really helped me. Like, there are a lot of
Letting
times.
go is a very difficult thing to do.
Like, that was not me before.
Yes.
It was very hard for me. For example, if I kind of did something flop in a hearing.
Yeah, you would
or-
over
yeah,
fixate
yeah.
on it, right?
Yes, I will think about it the entire day or until tomorrow. But
Yes.
now I can just fully let it go, knowing that I cannot control it.
True.
It already happened, and I can just always stand back and step up again.
Yes, and that's what yoga is all about. You know, knowing what you can and cannot control, and being present in what you can control. So, I want to talk about the scientific frame of yoga, because as I mentioned before, there's a misconception that first it is a religion, second that it is just physical fitness, but then it has been adopted to Western, and I would say that that's kind of a good thing, although they have experimented with different types of yoga that may have distanced it from its essence. But the adaptation of the adaptation of West to yoga has helped us become aware of what it truly means, and it has been it was given a scientific proof. Like for example, I have here my faliko.
There are a lot of researches to
Yeah.
talk about.
Even when it comes to anatomy, that it helps you become more mobile. It is a tool
Yes.
for longevity, and that
And it's also about accessibility.
Yes.
Like when we talk about anatomy, like not all bodies are created equal. That's why we
Yes.
have certain modifications. And when we study anatomy in our class, we have the 10 systems, right, in our body. So very important is our nervous system, which controls our mind, our spine, moving all over it, and then our right and left hemispheres, like being able to control logic and illusion and our creativity in our minds is very important. And with that, our respiratory and our circulatory system comes. So here we take in oxygen and we excrete out carbon dioxide with the help of our lungs, with the help of our heart. So it really is merging with
Yes.
yoga, anatomy and yoga. We have to understand our own anatomy so that we can practice yoga in a more mindful way.
yeah.
Yeah, especially our skeletal system, our joints, our bones, and our muscular system, right? That's how we move.
Yes.
There's really, that's just 5 among the.
And you learn that in yoga
systems.
teacher.
Yeah,
You
all
see,
learn that.
I've met people who make fun of yoga,
Mm.
and they are underestimating it. And
Mhm.
they don't understand how much logic there is behind this practice, and yoga teachers can
There's a
provide
scientific
sense.
part to it.
Yes.
Yeah, some people just think that it's very traditional.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, we talk more about it.
I want to talk about Matthew Ricard. I don't know if you're familiar.
Mhm.
He's a Buddhist monk, and he's also a former scientist. And he is known as the happiest
Mhm.
man in the world.
Okay.
And so, basically, this was from a different book. This is the title of the book was "Think Like a Monk" by Jai Shetty, and I recommend this book a lot.
Okay,
It's about
I wanna read it.
mindfulness.
Mhm.
You should. It's amazing. It gave like scientific proves that yoga can be practiced by everyone.
Yeah.
So Matthew Ricard, it was mentioned in the book. Again, former scientist and a Buddhist monk,
Mhm.
and he's the happiest man in the world. During a meditation session, he meditated in a MRI.
Mhm.
And then there it was found out that during meditation, inside the fMRI, there was an extraordinary high activity in the prefrontal cortex, which means that this kind of something lightened up
Mhm.
in his mind, which is I mean in his brain, which usually makikita lang if someone is extremely happy. And it's amazing that you can be the happiest man in the world. Scientific na pa.
Yeah.
It's under the MRI. Nasa MRI na siya. And he was just meditating. He wasn't with anyone. He wasn't in a specific place. It was just him and his mind. And he was the happiest man in the world. And I find that very amazing. And it is a testament of how yoga can be practiced everywhere, right?
It's like samadhi, like
Mm.
the total, you know, complete happiness. It's very hard to attain. So
Mhm.
that's the last limb of yoga.
Really,
Mm.
the 8 limbs of yoga, the last one is samadhi.
Yes.
And that is, again,
Like it's the full state of enlightenment.
oh,
Now, you don't have any dichotomy with success and
Mm.
failure. Like, it wouldn't change you. Like, you're just
you see,
normal.
You see, this is similar to Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Mhm.
Are you familiar with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
concept? What was the highest needs of a person?
It's a pyramid, right?
What was it again?
Self-actualization.
Self-actualization. This, everyone's using the Maslow's hierarchy of needs for their research, for their theses, but they don't understand what self-actualization is. And this is very similar to the concept that you said, which is samadhi, which is, again, please enlighten us with samadhi.
Yeah. Enlightenment. So it's the
Yes.
perfect state of happiness, the state of enlightenment, wherein you're just really in a state where success or failure does not define you.
Yes, and
Mhm.
if you read the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-actualization is very similar to that concept.
And you're really detached already.
Yes, detachment.
Mhm.
Let's talk about detachment
Yeah,
because it's
Also very hard.
hard. These
Yeah.
things.
We're
Detachment.
sentimental people.
Yes.
We're humans.
But we
Yeah.
have to detach ourselves
Mhm.
because one way or another we're going to be.
We're gonna leave.
We're gonna leave.
Yeah, we're just passing beings here in
Yes,
this
we're
world.
just passing
Yeah.
by, and then all of these possessions that we have, even the status that we are holding on to, it's not gonna be with us forever.
Yeah, it's not gonna make sense at all. That's why we
Years
should
from
just
now,
live in
like
the
years
moment.
from now,
Mhm.
imagine they wouldn't,
Yeah.
people wouldn't care anymore. We would not
Mhm.
exist anymore, and it's sad. Like a normal person would say, that's sad. That's a very sad thought, but no, it's a liberating thought.
Yeah.
Because it means that it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be putting intention into what you're doing now. It means that you shouldn't overfixate on anything
Yeah.
because they'll pass by, both the good and the bad. They're temporary.
Mhm.
And that is why being present is also important. We're connecting things. that is why being present is important, because everything is fleeting.
Yeah.
Everything is passing by. And when you're not present, all of these moments will just pass you by.
Yeah.
And you haven't lived.
Mhm.
And it's so sad.
Yeah.
You only live once, guys. But if you live well, you live right, once is enough.
Yes.
There's a reference to that. I'm sorry, but there's a reference to that. Please, when you edit, please find that.
Yeah.
So, mindfulness versus hustle. I know we've talked about it. I want to go deep into it. I want to talk about how yoga can be practiced everywhere. So, in your daily life as a lawyer, how would you practice yoga? Like, I want to hear an actual
It's
example of how you integrated yoga into your practice in law.
It's really embracing impermanence, like the monk Thich Nhat Hanh. And yeah, I also read his book No Death, No Fear. So we try to be aware with impermanence, and we just live with it. Because when we know that nothing is impermanent, we will not hold on to it. And that's how we get to detach. Yeah. And in my case, when I'm really stressed out by clients, like if these are actual people and these are people that you can't control. And the only thing that you can control is your emotions or how you act upon it.
How you respond
Yes.
to these clients.
So that's
you respond
how-
to these circumstances.
To that circumstance. So that's how I practice yoga. That I'm able to detach these emotions with my clients or this work with my clients with my personal self. Like their own problems,
Yes.
I handle them and I try to do my best to fix them, but I don't really engage into it.
You don't
Because
take
I-
anything personally.
Yes, because there is a difference between helping them and being engaged with their own problems, because it's very hard to detach yourself, for example, but later on you get to practice more, you get to talk to more clients, you get to practice more legal matters, and then you will just eventually know how to detach personally with this kind of clients, especially hard ones.
But it's really contradicting to what society has entailed us to.
Yeah.
Because society has entailed us to, or has told us to be people pleasers, right?
To really engage. Yeah.
The society has encouraged people to be pleasers of others, that we are constantly in this state of seeking validation from external influences. And this is, as I've said a while ago, it's the reason why there's greed.
Because that's how social media makes money.
True. That is how
Yeah.
the capitalist world makes money.
True.
This is about, we're talking about consumerism na, no? Should we discuss these topics a bit?
Yeah.
Because consumerism, it feeds on the people's tendency to not be contented.
Yeah.
So this is like the hedonic treadmill. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept. So we are designed, people are designed to want more.
Yeah.
And they say like for example, you have this new iPhone 14. Let's put this into example. And then they'll feed on this desire of yours to want more so that they can create, a new iPhone that has a the slightest difference with the iPhone 14, and then you immediately bite into it. This is the hedonic treadmill.
For example,
in
even fast fashion, like
Mhm.
it's very dangerous.
Mhm.
Fast fashion and all the materials that are made just to cater people
Mhm.
who want to buy a lot of stuff. Like
Yes.
right now, there are a lot of unused clothes, like dumped in our oceans. Yeah. That's why I
Ooh.
also love free diving, also love the
Mhm.
ocean, and also an advocate of the environment as well. Because when you really are conscious with yourself, you are also conscious with your environment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
You cannot simply just withdraw
Mhm.
from it because you also have your own role to play.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've read in this the book that I keep referencing, The Seven Spiritual Laws of Yoga, is that everyone is here for a reason. And without you, the world would be in this cosmic crisis,
Mhm.
right? Because everything works as one here.
Yeah.
We are one with everything. And you would, when you're more conscious, you would understand that there's a lot of similarity with you and nature.
That's true.
There is. So nature doesn't have to be perfect, and nor should we. And
Even
there's
ourselves, like
yes.
we have
Mhm.
this sense of impermanence. Our cells die and then we regenerate cells. Just like
Mhm.
plants, right?
Yes.
If they regenerate leaves. Like we're really similar in nature.
I read that we are different people every 7 years. Am I correct? Is it the correct science fact? We are a different person every 7 years because our cells would have been
Replenish, yeah.
yes, it will be replenished, it will be regenerated. So we're not the same every 7 years. We're new people. We are reborn,
Yes.
and it's kind of connected to this concept of impermanence. We are not the same. There was this quote that says, "No man steps into the same river twice." Is that the right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's a Stoic. I think it is Marcus,
Mhm.
or the editor will just will just put it on the screen. But this is because no man is the same man, and the river is also not the same. Something like that.
Yeah. It's also discussed by Thich Nhat Hanh in
Yes,
his
yes.
book No Death, No Fear. Like
Mhm.
water. Water is ever changing. Water in the river,
That's
it evaporates, right? And when it condenses, it rains again. It goes back to the river, and it's never the same form.
Yes.
It's always a different form.
And it's connected to the beauty of impermanence.
It's still water, but it's
Yes.
a different kind
Yes.
of water.
And it's connected to this concept and what we were mentioning a while ago, which is the beauty of impermanence. So, are there any misconception about yoga that you would like to unpack or that you would like to correct our viewers?
I think we already covered it. Like
Mhm.
people just seeing yoga as a fitness activity.
Mhm.
Yeah, it all boils down really to the intention. So
Mhm.
we try to maximize our efforts to educate people, like
Mhm.
during our Dharma talks when we
Mhm.
talk during Shavasana,
Mhm.
or just even during when we flow. Like
Yes.
if we can insert it and if we can talk about it to people so that they get to understand yoga more, because we really have an influence to our students and to the people around us if we have that much effort to put when we try to converse with them and when we try to talk to them.
Yes. So, yoga is, let's summarize everything that we've learned. Yoga is not a religion. That's the misconception. Yoga is a philosophy of life.
Yes.
And you don't need a mat and perform these crazy asanas.
Yes.
I know you'll see in Instagram and social media that people practicing yoga are doing these crazy stunts, being inverted. I know you can do it. Really amazed by that. I know you can see that they're all like inverted and doing these crazy poses. But it's more than that. You can practice yoga by being here, being in the present, being mindful, being contented, and even just learning, trying
Having an open heart.
yes, having an open heart, letting all the energy flow in. It's already you're already practicing it.
Flow in and flow out because it's
True.
always an exchange.
There's always an exchange that's beautiful. You know, we didn't talk about that exchange. It was discussed again in this book that I read. I keep referencing it because it's a beautiful book. And I read it even when I was still like not that in love with yoga, and it made me fall in love with yoga even more. But there's this exchange of energy everywhere. And it is practiced through proper breathing. That's exchanging when you're breathing in, you're breathing in the energy of the universe into you, and when you're breathing out, you're giving out your energy to the universe. And this is a beautiful concept.
And it's also, you should be careful about it when we exchange energies because we're talking about positive and negative energies. There are some certain energies that we don't need to absorb.
Yes.
Some certain energies that we just have to let go.
Yes.
And that's how we live mindfully.
And that's where yoga can be applied to in this hustle culture, because we're in this constant state of having to fixate on things, having to overthink on things, and yoga comes in to remind you that there are things you can control, and that's where you should focus on, and the rest you can let go. And I think that ends our podcast.
Oh, that was so short.
That was so short. We could have talked about so much more. We could have talked about the 8 limbs of yoga. But maybe in a different time. I think we've covered everything. Are we satisfied? The people from the back, from behind
Are
the
we
camera,
good?
do you have any questions? I know, Edward, you have questions. You can ask him.
Yeah. So these Western practitioners, they really did go to the East first, right, to study yoga, and then they really have different background when it comes to culture, because from India there's Hinduism, there's Buddhism, there's a lot of religions actually, and Hinduism and Buddhism is really tied up to the practice of yoga. But when these Westerners spread out what yoga for them really meant, it's still the holistic approach. It's the mind, body, and our spiritual union. So this individual consciousness, they practice this in order to also connect to the universal consciousness. So it's not really entirely different. It's just that there's this withdrawal from who they really relate to in the end, because there's this divine. We connect ourselves with a great divine for this union, for this yoga to be really practiced.
And yoga does not tell you who this divine is.
Yes.
It is up to you what divine you believe in. It doesn't force you to believe in the divine that is believed by people that are practicing Hinduism and Buddhism. And for me, like, the Western adaptation of yoga is good for yoga because everyone is hearing about what it truly is. And although there are hybrid forms of yoga that have kind of, we would, like, some yoga teachers would say that it was reduced. You know, the essence of yoga was reduced because of this transformation, this hybrid forms of yoga. But like, in the end of the day, what's important is that people are knowing about it.
Yeah.
And
It's about reaching.
yes,
people,
it's about
actually
reaching
reaching
people and allowing the people to know that this philosophy, this practice exists. And that in itself is already a good thing. And then the essence, teaching them about the essence that can come after.
What role do globalization and the digital media play in shaping our understanding and experience of the yoga? And how might this impact its future development?
there's actually a lot of influence, globalization, and especially the use of social media with the practice of yoga, because yoga really is misunderstood to doing really complex asanas when traditionally the first asanas is really just sitting.
Sitting and breathing in and
Sitting,
breathing
breathing, being one with your breath, and most importantly, being one with your mind and your thoughts, being able to grasp and hold. And now social media has portrayed a very extensive part of yoga that really isn't necessary. That's why it's also difficult if this reaches the wrong audiences, the audiences that do not have a lot in mind with yoga yet. So we really have to be careful when we take a look at different types of content, because this really speaks a lot to people who don't know yoga yet, and they will be scared to try it because, yeah, for example, yeah, even not just social media, even some religions that we have talked a while ago, they are antagonizing yoga because you're really being one with one Brahma and the other
Yes.
gods of Hinduism. But really, it is just one God for those who practice or who has a connection with their creator.
Yeah,
or
we're
it's
all
just
heading
the
into the
universe.
same mountain.
Yes.
We're all heading into the same mountain.
Here's another, a very last question. So, you could present your own opinion about this matter. So, is participating in yoga nowadays a form of cultural appropriation or cultural appreciation?
It is cultural appreciation, because at the end of the day, we grew because of the traditional roots of yoga. We cannot be here, or we are not here, not if it weren't for the traditional culture where yoga started. So it really is about the intention of really mindfully adapting the philosophy and not making fun of it, because really yoga practitioners do their best to practice yoga in their own ways.
That's it. Let's summarize what we've learned about yoga and how it is applied to the Western world. Yoga is the union of the mind, the body, and the spirit. And it is more than just a practice of religion. It is a philosophy of life which you can practice anywhere, whether you are sitting with someone, talking to someone, and being mindful with this person that you are with, to being in the mat or being by yourself, practicing the breathing in and the breathing out and letting energy flow into you and your energy flowing out into the universe. And again, this is Lorraine Beatrice, and this is attorney Carla V. Baikan, also a yoga teacher, and this is Soulpod. Thank you everyone for listening.
Finally!